Okay, now we are in the Modstation. When you run it for the first time, it's going to update itself. It will, after any patch, you know, they roll these new patches out on a semi-regular basis. When they do that, just run the Modstation. It'll put a little icon on your desktop. Just run it. It'll auto-update all the mods that had any changes in order to be able to work in the new patch. It'll automatically update itself. So, what do I use? The first thing that comes up is here. You can see crosshairs. I use the Zeiss Expert times 15. I like the ratio when you zoom in. I just like the look and feel of it. But as you can see, there are a whole bunch. And then there are a bunch of other gun markers that I don't use. I find them a little distracting myself. But there's a lot of things in here for you to play with, and you will find things that you will like a lot. So I recommend, although I'll show you what I'm using, check out as many of these things as you can, because there might be things, for example, if you have a vision problem, some of these different colored gun markers and different, these might be a lot easier for you to see. So there's that. Okay, so this next section, it basically just changes some of the look of the game. I use the bright combat ribbons. I like them a lot better. It's a really minor thing, purely cosmetic. I also use the compass, which shows up in the bottom left of your game screen. It gives me, well, here's one thing that I'll use it for. For example, you can see how it looks there in the center. What I'll do is I'll aim my guns to the side, and then I'll get some idea with a new ship of how much broadside I need to show in order to have all my guns come to bear on something. You know, off on this side, for example, if you had all your guns to starboard, all the gun placements here when you're in the game will show up, and they'll turn green when you can actually target something. Well, if you have to show, you know, 45, 50 degrees in order to get all of them green, maybe you just say to hell with the rear guns, unless I'm running away. And that's important because as a general rule, if you are at more than a 30 degree or a 30 degree or greater angle to your opponent, they're going to find it much easier to penetrate your armor and much easier to get into your citadel. Now there are some variations on that depending upon what your nose armor is, etc., and kind of how your citadel is laid out. But knowing that and just kind of keeping an eye on it, I don't want to show more than 30% to anything with the big guns. That can really help you a lot. And a little farther we get in here, you're going to see that there's another one that we can use that's going to show you what their angle is to you, so you know the right time to pull the trigger when they're turning. Okay, so is there anything else? No, there's nothing else there. So we're going to go to ship icons. I don't really use anything in here. There are a bunch of different well, adjustable panels. I don't even think of it as being something I use anymore. It's so normal to me. All of these do this in different ways. They give you different information about the ships during the game. The one that I use, these panels are adjustable in various ways, although I never play with them since I've set them. When these ships start taking damage on either side, this color decreases, and you see like a clear spot here where it's had all this damage. You can tell at a glance, how are we doing? If your guys' hit points are all down in this area, this is all clear, not green anymore, and theirs are, you know, maybe this much clear, you guys are getting your ass handed to you. And then you know, okay, well, I really need to make something happen. Or for instance, maybe you see maybe this North Carolina, it's grayed out all the way down to here. It's just got a little bit of green. Hey, I need to look for that guy. I got to finish him off before he starts healing up. So that's just one of many ways these mods can help you. And we go on to the next section, ship shells. There are a lot of different camo mods for various ships, as you can see. I'm not using any of these. Go on to the next section here. Combat interface. I use advanced chat. There's a little bit of an image here. You can see it shows you when someone types something, the ship that they're in, the tier of that ship, and then the player. It's very handy. Because, you know, when you're in the game, in the regular game without any of these mods, someone is shouting, hey, I need help, or, you know, look to your left, you don't really know who it is. Where here, with a real quick glance, you can know. I mean, if you're paying any attention at all, which I'm sure you are, you know the ships that are right around you that are on your team. So if you see one of them in the chat box saying, hey, look out for this, or hey, here comes this, or let's do this, then you know I need to pay attention to that. All right, so we go a little farther down here. I use the alternate mini-map. Now, what does that do? Well, it gives you some different options. I find it much better. You see this kind of highlighted area here? That is your detection range. So you can tell very easily if something is approaching your detection range. And then all of these things are adjustable within that. And you do that, say this was your mini-map on in your game on the lower right-hand side. Right up here, there's going to be a little icon you can click to open this section up, which actually will appear above it. And then you can say, well, I also want to see what my, for example, if you've got a Bismarck, I want to see what my secondary range is. And it'll light something up here, and it'll show you. And you can see here it's red, so the little circle will be red. It'll just be a red circle, and then you know, okay, if I get within that range, whoever it is going to start taking shots from my secondaries. There's a whole bunch of things you can click there, but it's very helpful information. The navigator, I use that. Now I mentioned this a couple minutes ago. This will show up right under your targeting reticule in the middle of your screen, and it will show your position relative to them and their position relative to you. So this is your angle to them, and this is their angle to you. And it's really, really helpful. I cannot overstate how helpful this is, because the way things render in this game, it is sometimes hard to know exactly where to put your shots. And this helps a lot because, and I'm sure it's happened to you, when you don't have this and you're just playing the vanilla client of the game, you make a shot and it looks like when you're shooting this should be absolutely perfect, and then your shots either they fly way over or they land way short of what you were shooting at. This really helps cut down on that. Smoke timer. It's just an additional timer. It'll show the first puff and the last puff when it's going to wear off, which is really helpful. Advanced battle loading screen. I find this convenient. It's a really minor thing, but I find it really convenient because you got different options when you start the game. There's some different tabs you can click. Well, just the second tab, if you just leave it on that, this will show up every time. It'll show you who's on each team, and it'll show you the map you're going to be playing on and kind of where everybody's going to be starting from on your team. What else is on here? If you have radio location on any of your captains, instead of the regular just kind of fuzzy white semicircle looking thing, it'll look like this. It'll be the white line with the red thing, so you know exactly where the closest ship to you on the red team is. Now this can be really handy if you've got long-range torpedoes. A ship doesn't have to be in smoke to be hidden from you, of course. But if you're approaching a cap, you see the red guys have obviously got a DD in the cap because it's starting to turn red. You don't have to go in that cap. If your torpedoes can reach all the way across that cap and you don't see that little red thing there moving, maybe you throw your long-range torps all around where that red thing is pointing. And he doesn't have to smoke up. You know right where he's at. And if somebody else comes closer than him, that thing will swing around to a new angle and say, no, now the closest guy's right over here, which can be very handy if you're in any ship, a destroyer, a cruiser, a battleship. This is a great way to know where, for example, a stealth DD is trying to get around a mountain and torpedo at close range. It's a great captain perk, and this is a really good visual representation of it. Informative marker section, really it gives you the information that you see when you have targeted a ship. That's going to show you. I like to see the player name, the name of the ship, how many hit points, and then the range. I changed the shell colors because I find these easier to see, which makes it easier for me if I've missed to know how to adjust my shot. And I think that's it there. We'll go on to the next section, port modification. I don't think I did anything, but you can change a lot of things. You can have it so that every ship shows up, premium or not, change the carousel, get session stats after. You play with some of these. You might decide you really like them. I wasn't crazy about any of them. It doesn't mean I dislike any of them, but I just kind of stuck with the things that I knew I found useful. This last section, remove fog and glare. You can kind of see a before and after there, and it really is kind of that pronounced. It makes a big difference in how the game looks. I don't think it gives you any advantage, but it's a lot more beautiful to look at. Replay enable. This will put replays for every game you play, if you have this active, in a folder that you can then go pull out and open up and watch. It's a great way to learn. It's a great way. Okay, hey, wow, I really dropped the ball there. Look at that. Look, I should have seen this guy on the minimap, and I totally missed that. next game I know in that situation on this island here and around this corner here, I got to make sure I'm checking that mini-map. Insignia modification, I don't like them. There are some that are actually pretty nice. I just got rid of them. There's a bunch of different types that you can have. Pinup is one that seems to be a favorite. But instead of the, whatever they've got, these will show up. Modified login screen, you can see submarines, battleships, destroyers. There's a bunch of them. There are various sound mods. You can have Dasha talking to you. A couple of other there. You can, if you have a machine that is not maybe as capable as some others, maybe you set a frames per second value at a maximum, so you're not overtaxing your machine. It may think it can do more than it can. I tried it. It didn't really help me at all. My machine runs pretty well, but there are cases where this could be really helpful. And then, of course, you can compress the game textures, which you can see it really degrades the visual quality, but maybe it helps you run things a little bit better. So anyway, so that's it. Once you get done going through it, you'll go through it, maybe spend 10-15 minutes checking various things out and what does this mean and what does it do. And then whenever you've decided what you're going to do, you just click play, and then you're off to the races. You'll load up and all these things will be in there, and you can start checking them out and seeing how they work and making use of them. I found myself, just kind of as a short addendum here, it took me a couple of days of playing. I did a lot of co-op to kind of get used to using some of these new tools, but now I find them completely indispensable, and they really do help my game. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in game.